we settled on the topic, the new humanity, and which refers to one of the discourses that Baba gave in the late 30s. And I think, although some of you may, I've never seen Baba use the term new humanity anywhere else except in this particular discourse. I don't know, but it's a very powerful discourse, and I'm just going to read one of the things that Baba says there. Humanity will attain.
Can you be a little louder?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
uh-oh. Okay, good. I'm glad you're telling me that. Wow. Am I still not loud?
You better, but it could be louder.
Okay. Wow. Let me. Oh, okay. Oh, wait. I've got to figure out.
Go Hair has a good volume.
Okay. Diane's very loud.
Okay, just a second.
You're telling me. Tell me something new.
Jeff isn't, but Diane is loud. I'm probably loud too.
Yes,
You guys sound good.
you're sounding better, Jeff.
I never know what is what, input or output.
In
Is it going to be input? Okay, here. It's not moving. Now, is that any better or not?
It's better. Yeah.
A little better.
a little.
No, not really great.
Oh my God. What? I don't know how this could, how things happen. I never change anything.
Jeff, I mean, like you can increase the input volume.
Okay, but you know, the thing is not moving,
Oh,
the input volume.
okay.
I don't know what, automatically adjust microphone volume. Shoot. It's just, okay. Recording, Baba.
Is the automatic one checked, Jeff?
Automatically adjust microphone volume. I've
Is
got
it
that
okay? Is it checked or unchecked?
checked.
Oh, uncheck that.
Uncheck it. Okay.
Yeah, and now you can change.
Oh. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, how's that?
Much
Great.
Much better.
Okay.
Much,
Fantastic. Yeah.
What hath God wrought? Okay, so I'm going to read. This is what Baba said in one of the lines in this, where Baba says, "Humanity will attain to a new mode of being and life through the free and unhampered interplay of pure love from heart to heart." I don't know if that. So that's. So I'll say a few things.
Jeff, read it again, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I kind of bungled it up. Humanity will attain to a new mode of being and life through the free and unhampered interplay of pure love from heart to heart.
Yeah.
Jackie Boyce has come on. I'm just going to tell you we are tackling what the new humanity is. So we're going to fumble around with talking about it. Now, one thing, I mean, viewing things historically, Baba, I feel, has made a tremendous, real dramatic change and shift in the collective consciousness of this world, and also at a personal level. I mean, even in my lifetime, I've seen. I mean, back in when I was growing up, this was in the 50s, before the invention of the wheel. The the word spiritual, 50s I'm talking about. The word spiritual was something that poets wrote about, and it kind of referred to some etheric experience that someone might have had, a rare thing, as uncommon as maybe seeing a UFO in the sky on a camping trip. It was not a common thing. And vibrations were something that happened to your car after a certain length of time, and it meant that you had to go to the used car lot and get a new car that didn't make so much racket. And consciousness was very simple when I was a kid. You were either conscious or knocked unconscious. Now just see what Baba has done, because back then spirituality was just a rare thing. Now it's within the awareness of people, the the internal states. People are aware. People know, like, they can go into a certain area of town, they can feel the vibrations. They can feel the vibrations of a room, or the vibrations of of certain people. I remember the Mandali even adopted our expression, vibes. He's got good vibes. I mean, even Erish would use that, vibes. And like I say, we have come a long ways as far as awareness. Now I'm going to talk about the old humanity, what we've come out of. In the old humanity, people thought of in terms of time. You're going from this moment to some future goal. And, but the new humanity is going to be focused, I feel, more on the present moment, experiencing the now. And I think that the new humanity is actually going to happen in this moment. It's not going to be in the future. If we can open up to this moment, we will be a part of the new humanity. That's my feeling. One of the things about the old humanity is that we have identified with our culture, our ethnicity, our religion, our gender, and everything, profession. And I think that the new humanity will get beyond those narrow identifications into more of a universal identification. And in the old life, people have reacted and judged life according to good and bad, right and wrong, spiritual, unspiritual, and the whole every degree in between. But I think that we are going to move into a place of love beyond the standards and standpoints of good and bad, right and wrong, and everything, to a place of love, and live spontaneously from there. So that's just some of the things that occurred to me. And then I'm going to open it up to whomever. Whoever wants to venture into talking about the new humanity. But I do feel it's going to be more of a present moment, this moment experienced more fully than some future phenomenon. But anyway, Michael Childs has got his hand up. And he's trying to look as new as he can, but I know he's about 80.
I am 80.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd get here.
Well,
So,
Michael, this is the afterlife. I don't think you realize that.
well, if it's the afterlife, I'm kind of happy with it. So, even though things are bad, I'm still happy with it. I guess this is what Baba meant by the enjoyment of suffering. Anyway, what I discovered about the new humanity was I found the basic, what I found is that my conscience is my link with God. And that conscience has to do with being one. It's called integrity, which is meaning whole and complete, so that your word and your deeds and your thoughts are one, so that you become completely trustworthy. Remember, I was talking about the different stages of love, where at first the mind is in conflict with the heart, and then the mind is confused in relation to the heart. For the third stage, according to Baba, is when the mind is in harmony with the heart and it becomes a form of super consciousness. And I read that first back in the 70s, and I didn't quite know what it meant, but it intrigued me. And this whole thing about cleaning up my conscience, which had to do with acknowledging where I was, finding out who I really was, which was the soul. And I came up with a mantra, you might say, which is, I am an immortal soul. I have nothing to fear. And when I came to that conclusion, now this is about a year before I came to Baba, but it struck me like, well, in French would be like a clap of thunder, and coup de foudre. And it just knocked my socks off. And then the next stage was, above that was uncertainty, where you choose between dwelling in the fear and choosing to love. And it's like, one hand it's this, but like in terms of my father, he beat me, so how can I trust him? On the other hand, he didn't beat you all the time. I mean, it wasn't like making excuses. They took you to museums and they showed you his art, and there was a but, and then the pros and cons. And when I went through the cons first and then the pros, there was an amazing thing that happened to me. I chose. And at the very moment of choosing, I entered another realm, the realm of the soul. And I knew that I owed him apologies. I owed other people apologies. Until that time, I didn't feel responsible for what I had done because I had reasons for my behavior. And I could rationalize anything. Look at him, he made me do it. But as soon as I entered the realm of the soul, it was, I did it, I said it. I'm the one that stole the money. And it was more important to me to be honest. And in a real sense, stand naked before God, who sees me anyway, as I really am. He sees everything I've done. He's just waiting for me to speak up and admit to these things, as he is with all of us. And it was at that point that I had a vision of a humanity that was linked as brothers and sisters, as family. And that the new humanity springs from the natural feelings of love, not just feelings of love, as a consequence of the laws, the dynamics of love, which means you care about other people. You care about them more than yourself at times. So that how can we allow people to starve? How can we allow them to live in such poverty? These are our brothers and sisters. And we're saying that I'm more fortunate, I'm better than they. And here Baba bows down to the lepers. He cleans latrines. He shows himself to be the lowest of the low. He doesn't create elites or sects or religious sects, or tries to cut people off from each other. He shows an example of that, not a, you could call it humility, but it's an honesty where we are all children of God. And to see that, to me, is a function of integrity, one's own integrity. So this light shines through, and I know that the apologies that I made to people, they were heartfelt apologies, and they experienced something happen inside them. I knew that they received something that I couldn't have done through any manipulation or any, like people make apologies to get off the hook, so to speak. But this one, you make an apology because you have failed them in some way. broken the trust and you want to rebuild it. And so you then, somebody lends you their car and you go ahead and put a dent in the fender. So you could blame the guy that hit you or whatever, or you could say, I did it. And you go and fix that car. You spend whatever you have to put it back the way it was. And then you add something else, an amendment. And plus you just tell them, you know, I wasn't paying attention, whatever the truth of the situation is. And you make it known that your relationship to them is worth more than trying to deny responsibility for what you've done. And that brings out a response of a love from the other person. Not always. I remember I traveled 3,000 miles to give my sister an apology. And she looked at me and said, well, I'm sorry you went through all that for nothing. And I'm laughing to think about it. But the point is that I was cleansed by making the apology. And I didn't have to, and I didn't, she was not on my mind anymore. She was off my chest. And it's like, I don't know if you guys have done it, but now that I'm older, sometimes I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about things that I did, pieces of furniture that I ruined by my ignorance, and things that I said that I shouldn't have said. And people talk about your life flashing before your eyes when you die, but I'm not that bad yet, but my wrongs definitely flashed before me. And Baba has to tell me, look, you did good things as well. It's so funny when you look into this mirror, you don't always see them. So I decided, I discovered a very interesting business, and it's all in harmony with what Baba's usual mode, which is like he would say to Bayadul, go find me must, but he didn't tell Bayadul where to find them. He didn't micromanage him. Like, okay, go 3 blocks this way, then make a left turn, and then you see this guy there. No, it was like, Bayadul, go find him. And then you use your intuition, and he would use his intuition, and he had quite a nose for finding musts. Well, likewise, I discovered a lot of how the mind works. And I discovered that within the human being, and of course, this is Hindu Vedantism, that there's the realm of the soul and the realm of the mind. The mind is full of fear. It motivates through fear, seeking pleasure, alleviating pain, and more, and it compares everything. So in the realm of the mind, someone loves you, but you can love this one more. But in the realm of the soul, there is no more or less. It's absolute. If you ask a little child, who do you love more, daddy or mommy? They kind of squirm and say, well, it's both. But your dad's such a no. I love my dad absolutely. And that's what I got in touch with in my 40s, that I loved him absolutely in spite of all the things he had done. And yet, and for me to deny that was to deny myself. So the mind has helped us survive for 15 billion years. I mean, making the right decisions, survival, thinking things out, coming up with solutions. But it has cut us off from each other. In the mind, we come first. It's like, and the soul falls in love with another soul. I love you, absolutely. I want to be one with you. I want to be the one with God. And the mind says, well, I hate to tell you this, but no 2 objects can occupy the same space at the same time in the universe. One of us has got to go, and it's going to be you. And you wonder what the source of conflict is in marriages and in relationships. And it's just this feeling of this primordial urge to survive, and the fear concomitant with it. So therefore, we have to conquer this fear. We have to be aware of it. Before anybody gets angry, what they experience is fear. And whether they launch out to defend themselves or to attack someone else, this fear is behind it. So there are three stages in the mind. The lowest one is called disloyalty. Medial, the second one is adversary, which is attack. And the third one is uncertainty, known as, uncertainty. The first one, disloyalty.
Hey, Michael, second. Get it to a breaking point so you can come on later, but just so that some other people can weigh in here or say something.
Okay, well, let me just summarize it in a sense.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it gets complicated. Okay. It's like we're getting into details. I believe that the new humanity exists at a fifth plane level, and that the bottom line is the prayer of repentance. So if any in the new humanity, if anybody behaves below the line, they have to apologize, they have to clean it up, and that should be done, I think, ideally in a group situation. Because it reminds me of Alcoholics Anonymous, where you get up and admit that you're an alcoholic in front of a group, which are less likely to manipulate a group than you are a partner. And this whole group dynamic that Baba has emphasized is very important for this new humanity. And to live your life according to not just with the prayer of repentance as a bottom line, to me, there's an extraordinary realization. And that's what I put into my workshops. And that's how I try to live my life. And I'm getting sloppy about it, but not to the degree that I used to. So it's waiting for us. The kingdom of God is at hand. And we are blowing that opportunity for not being the best that we can be, for not feeling the pain of others, for speaking ordinary conversations and indulging in gossip and how are you and playing parts and worrying more about what other people think than standing before God naked, because that's how God sees us. So more later, okay?
Yeah, but beautiful. Yeah, you're getting at a real deep level to as far as living this, well, kind of the new life as well as the new humanity. Let's see what Al's
Hey,
got.
Bob, everyone. I
Yeah.
read this a couple
Uh-oh.
experience of what I feel Bob is saying. But anyway, this little book here, which I'm sure most of you know. It's called Beams from Meher Baba, The Spiritual Panorama. And this one's called Avatars of First Master. But Baba says, every time the avatar descends, he is not necessarily recognized as the avatar by the masses. He can be recognized as such only by those who are very advanced spiritually. The avatar is not necessarily recognized and hailed as the avatar by each and all because he covers himself under a veil for his own spiritual work. The veil which the avatar puts on himself can be removed by him at any time and for any person or persons as he may desire for the purposes of self-revelation or self-communication. So in Washington, D.C., since the late 60s, we've had New Age festivals. And in the 60s, maybe late 60s, 70s, and 80s, they were called heart-to-heart festivals. And so they used that Baba quote that you read earlier about heart to heart. And so I managed 85, 86. And it was like a Turkish bazaar. You had an 8-foot table with maybe a foot and a half of space. But we had this nice little alcove and we showed Baba movies all day and talked to people as they came, you know. And I would say that there were thousands of people that used to come to this 2-day festival. And I would venture to say that most people knew who Baba was, they had read spiritual literature. But the 2 years that I did it, and after 2 years, I went back and I put universal messages in Baba cards. But in those 3 years, we might have had three or four people who came to one meeting, then we never saw them again. So that speaks to what Baba's saying, that he has a veil and he just unveils himself to whoever he wants to unveil himself to, no matter how much you've read or how many spiritual disciplines you've been under or how long you've been doing it. If he doesn't unveil himself to you, well, you got to wait your turn. But he does say that the ones that recognize Baba as the avatar are spiritually evolved. Well, I lost my last thought, but that's enough.
Does that refer to Italians also?
To what?
Italians?
Italians. No, I was just saying that, that was an example for me of all these people that knew of Baba, but they weren't drawn to be Baba lovers. And like I say, in 3 years' time, we might have had 3 or 4 people who came to one meeting and we never saw them again, Yeah. But they knew Baba, they read Baba's works, they accepted him as a master. It just wasn't for them, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, it takes that.
Anyway, the idea of heart to heart, because we call the festival was called Heart to Heart. So they used that quote that you started off with, Baba, interplay of heart to heart. Then after the 80s, our magazine, our New Age magazine there is Pathways, and they're still doing it once or twice a year, but now it's called the Pathways Expo. They no longer call it Heart to Heart.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Gower.
Well, I didn't know what I was going to say tonight, but I was looking through the collection I have, Baba material, and I came across this book by Don Stevens, Listen, the New Humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the quote that you quoted in the beginning, Jeff, is part of a bigger quote. And I'll read you the whole quote if you.
Yeah.
So it says, Baba says, the new humanity will come into existence through a release of love in measureless abundance. And this release of love can come through spiritual awakening brought about through the masters. Humanity will attain to a new mode of being and life through the free and unhampered interplay of pure love from heart to heart. Through divine love, the new humanity will learn the art of cooperative and harmonious life. It will free itself from the tyranny of dead forms and release the creative life of spiritual wisdom. It will shed all illusions and get established in the truth. It will enjoy peace and abiding happiness. It will be initiated in the life of eternity. Meher Baba. And I feel that a very big part of the new humanity will be intuition.
Yeah.
And what Baba has said about that is there's another quote, and I'll read it to you about intuition. Baba says, Avataric periods are like the springtide of creation. They bring a new release of power, a new awakening of consciousness, and a new experience of life, not merely for a few, but for all. Qualities of energy and awareness, which had been used and enjoyed by only a few advanced souls, are made available for all humanity. Life as a whole is stepped up to a higher level of consciousness, is geared to a new rate of energy. The transition from sensation to reason was one such step. The transition from reason to intuition will be another.
Beautiful quote.
Yeah.
And I would say that, we're getting there's been a real awakening.
Yes.
This whole interior, but intuition is one of the main links.
Big part of it. Inner connection. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And where you don't have to get to know somebody, you can feel them.
Yes.
empathize with them, and so you don't have to like an old friend that you have. You know, there's some friends that we have where you can pick up where you left off anytime you see them. You don't have to catch up
That's right.
because it's kind of essence to essence experience. They know you, you know them, and you don't really have to know anymore. You kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
Okay, Marion, I think was next.
Hi. So can you hear me? Okay, I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
I like to have some fun with this because I'm used to doing, and I was starting more in the New York when we had Mayor Baba House, some stand-up comedy routines about some of these sort of serious topics. And so I like to have some fun with it. And I see the new humanity, of course, in the flowering of it, there's going to be some chaos. So that's part of the entree into the new humanity. So I see that, again, what we just spoke about, everyone will be living from intuition. It's what in the discourses, we bringing the head and the heart into balance with the heart leading the way. That is intuition. That is God. So everybody will be presencing God because they're going to be doing that and living that way. And so everybody will be presencing God, and there will be a lot of telepathy. So we will not have all these wireless things going around with all those waves that are very intrusive on our bodies and energy systems and our mind. I have to be very careful about those 5G electric things and electronic things. So since we're all energy beings, we're not solid, we're all energy beings. So there will be a lot of telepathy, and a lot of voice will be used for singing and for uttering sounds that are very aligned with this intuitive self. And there won't be a lot of discussion. There will be more telepathy. And then I'm not sure, I think New York City will go under the ocean. I think that's the solution for New York City, is it'll sink between the ocean. And however, there'll be like new land and everybody taken care of. So nobody goes hungry, nobody's eating any animals. But however we're eating, it is from a really ways that we've never, they're all new ways of growing some food. We will still eat some food, some vegetables and stuff, but there'll be already the plowing is ending, the plowing is ending. And there will be a lot of dancing and singing and in ways and community that is so harmonious that everyone is in joy. And there'll be some duality, but the duality is all close together, and it is no longer oppositional. It's flowing together. So anyway, and everybody's happy, and that's it for now. And I can always pop in with something else, because that's as far as I got. And I don't know what I asked Baba, because I think New York, I'm not sure what how the evolution of animals, because all we big cities have rat problems. So I talked to Bob about that. So I don't have any kind of solution to that yet, of the evolution of form. So that'll maybe come later. So thank you.
Yeah. What about VJ's chicken tikka? I don't know about.
Yeah. Jai Baba, yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, well, since my childhood, I been reading this shloka, Sanskrit shloka, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Entire world is my family. And see, what I see even from Zoroaster, the avatar, they are teaching good thoughts, good deeds, and good karmas. So they are all directing towards a new humanity only. And even I feel when Baba will come after 700 years, the talk of new humanity will go, it will not end, because the world will exist. It is not going to I think, because in God he speaks, say power, he said that who am I and then process. So this illusion cannot be removed because the reality is there, so illusion is there. So this exercise will go on, but those who get aware, means the consciousness is developed in human form, and the awareness will go on increasing definitely. And this is the era of intellect and intuition. And Baba said clearly he will transit from intellect to intuition. So definitely I see those children now, the new age children, their awareness is tremendous. Means they are not thinking about their own self, they are not thinking about their city or country, but they are thinking about the entire humanity. They, means there is no barrier, world is no barrier. I have feeling of nationalism, but my son, he say no, no. Why should he thinks about the entire world. Means like same thought, same thinking kind of thing. And so I think I will read some new humanity from discourses. uh, Material and spiritual adjustment. Let's thought of contentment. Life is limited, not the limited self, but for others, not for the claims of ego life. Yeah, yeah. Like we should not be self-centered. Think for others also. But claims of divine life. It's a mistake to ignore human sufferings, merely a part of the illusory universe. So these human suffering, very important concern for human suffering, not just that, oh, in my country is safe, oh, that country, but I feel should have the same feeling for North Korean also, or the Chinese also, or the maybe Bangladesh or India or whatever third world countries. So this kind of feeling, and not by ignoring human suffering, because see the reality and illusion, but this illusion is a connection to the reality. So, and what is that connection to reality, means to illusion, is the human suffering. Baba Samadhi, if you see, there is a written mastery in servitude. So mastery by service, and this suffering, human suffering, makes the scope for the spiritual seeker to attain the reality. So through human suffering, only that connection is there to reach the, when you feel the same love you feel for your own children, for others, then you are proceeding towards Godhood, and then that divine love is awakened within you, where you don't care for yourself, you care for others. And so that's a love divine. And when love divine is there, then that love for God is induced and master, and then some master might give you God realization. Otherwise, you're there in the world. Yeah, yeah, that much.
Okay. You know, one thing that, well, Catherine, you're next, but one thing that Darwin said is that we will be established at the heart level. You know, we will operate, that'll be our base of operations, permanent, you know, in an abiding way, not so much up in our head, but we will be living from the heart, and then which is much more receptive to intuition. So we're going to make the shift down to the level of the heart in an abiding way. That which is, and that makes things much more unified. So Catherine, yeah.
Hey, Jay Baba, everyone.
Hmm.
My signal's going in and out, so if I start going out, that's why. But so I get confused. Everything that everybody's saying I can relate to, and I posted a little message that it's, to me, I mean, everything I read about the new humanity sounds to me like it's already oneness, you know. And so then I question, is like, well, my idea, I suppose, of God realization or oneness is beyond the physical. And, you know, when much of what they're talking about, like the new humanity, I think one person mentioned that mentioned that it was, you know, it was the eternity. It almost sounds like it's heaven itself, you know? And so, which we know is heaven's a state of mind. And so the question is, for me, is, you know, are we talking about in this physical realm, or are we talking about, you know, we move on to a different realm, or if it's all together and it just depends on your state of mind? So all those things I question. But like y'all, definitely I'm experiencing an awakening in both myself and other people, and see it happening, which goes along with also the chaos that's happening. It's like a rebirth. So when you think of birth, I mean, you're going to have some kind of chaotic part to that. And so it's a fascinating and interesting subject to me. And I definitely see, and I guess, you know, I'm at the point where it's sort of like, well, as we're on the planes, as we go towards the final goal, that more and more, it seems to be that new humanity is that the more of humanity is going to be in that process and on that level, or on the planes. And that is sort of what the new humanity is. So those are a few of my thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. And Patty.
Yeah, J. Bob, everybody. Catherine, I could echo kind of in agreement with what you said. In my thoughts, in my heart, as we have been gathering over these couple of years, the process of awakening to the divine presence in us has been a focus and an intent. And it is clear to me that there are souls operating at a more linked in awareness than myself, who are not seeing the separateness of selves as much. So the naturalness of oneness and love and compassion and the states of the divinity arise more naturally than I am accessing, because I come up and then I go down, and I come up and I go down into my mind and then into my heart. And it does appear to me, in with what Jeff said in the beginning, and clearly what Michael was saying, and Marion, I mean, there is this, it seems to me like there'll be a tipping point, but it's not us that does the tipping point. I realize it's the divinity that is allowed, I mean, that's present all the time, that could allow this. But in the play of duality, we need the play of duality for the souls to awaken. And I believe we've kind of we're cresting it pretty not so good. And hence the chaos and the awakening happening to bring us out of the muck and mire of selfishness and fear and all those things. Forgiveness definitely has to be there. And I really believe that it is, I mean, I see it in young souls, open, you know, children that I'm exposed to, that have that clear experience of, no question, in the present moment with timeless love. They are an expression of that divinity. So, you know, in my lifetime, I definitely have evolved inward, and I have opened up from my first awareness of Meher Baba in '69. So I don't see myself as the new humanity currently. I don't think we're all there yet, but I do think there are souls that are helping us propel inwardly for that expansion of total creativity and total love and spontaneity and laughter and joy and all the things that we strive for. So I'm going to stop there.
Beautifully said, Patty. That's the spirit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Onward and inward.
You know, I had the thought, Erich used to say that, and Baba would say that everyone is in us.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, you know, we can say the thumb is separate from the little finger, but it's all on one hand, you know. But Erich used to say, this whole world is yours, but you have to claim it.
Yeah.
Through love, you take what's outside and bring it inside, and it becomes yours with a capital Y.
Yeah.
So the idea of having to go around and adjust to all these people, it's more incorporating them in ourselves. Those you love are inside of you, and those you're yet to love are outside. But eventually it's like an expansion of being, rather than kind of learning how to adjust to all these different types of personality type. We have to take them in. That's kind of what Erich was saying. Okay, Prakash.
Jai Baba. Yeah, everybody said what I thought I would share. So I don't want to repeat all that. But then one thing I may want to add is all about the new humanity. I mean, when I say the new humanity here, I'm referring to all these souls who have transformed, you know, had a change in their consciousness, a transformation of their consciousness. I was speaking to Nosh about this afternoon for a little bit, and then he very beautifully said this. It's a transformation of consciousness that happened when, you know, take me for my family, for example, my grandfather and my mother and everybody, they would follow, you know, my grandfather would follow Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and my mother would do all those idols in the front and do prayers and all. And when they came to know about Baba, it took some time, a decade or something, for my mom to get rid of all those idols and then worship Baba and know and realize that he is the one. And so what I see is you're closing yourself to dead forms and moving on to something that is real. And so that change of transformation in consciousness is sort of happening to everybody in the world, and more so for those who are in touch with Baba, because he's the most recent incarnation of a descent of God, basically. So that to me tells me that the new humanity has been going on. I mean, when I say the new humanity has been going on, the characteristics that help us visualize what Baba meant by new humanity has been a continuous process, just like manifestation, the way I think. Manifestation has been happening in the hearts of the people from the time Baba started his mission, as simple as that, for me at least. And the same way, this aspect of new humanity, which resulted in the transformation of consciousness, has literally been going on. And I think it's more also related to the new life. Baba lived that life and helped us set up a blueprint, so to speak, for the new humanity. And the other thing I noticed in the young kids, I mean, again, I don't want to identify the young kids with the new humanity and the rest are all old and old humanity. No, nothing like that. One of the aspects of new humanity is, that they definitely are more intuitive, like everybody mentioned here. And once you're that intuitive, you have tremendous access to this love. I mean, not necessarily knowing things a little beforehand and all that stuff that is there, but more importantly, in actually knowing the real cause of being and who you are and that kind of thing, and the love, I mean, the divine love. So, and I also noticed with this new humanity aspect is that they're more intuitive, and they also know things just so naturally. Because of that naturalness, there is no pride attached to what they know. And that, to me, is a beautiful thing Baba did. He removed saying, I mean, you know everything, but you're not proud of it. So he removed that obstacle that can help your ego grow big and make things difficult. And so you can now dig deep into your intuitive aspects and go with those. So I think that Baba has done so beautifully, and to me, the new humanity, the whatever constitutes new humanity, which we already read so far through various passages everybody did, it's happening. It's a continuous process, and it's happening even more now because of all the things happening. Baba is really taming us through pandemic, through all the problems that happen in the world. Here is a sentence which I thought I can share. Baba says, hope should be fortified by a courage which can accept failure without upset. Enthusiasm should be harnessed by the wisdom that knows how to wait with patience for the fruit of action. I mean, to me, this pandemic has really taught the whole humanity at large in trying to be patient. You can't have things going just the way you think and then you can't make it happen. There are things that you need to adjust within yourself, and wait. That's what Baba, I think, is saying here. Enthusiasm should be harnessed by wisdom that knows how to wait with patience for the fruit of action. And next, he says, idealistic dreams about the future should be balanced by a sense of realities of the present. And we are seeing the world, I mean, it's a little topsy-turvy. So, so Baba is helping the humanity, everybody for that matter, and to move on and realize that aspect of being which Baba wants us to live, which is the life of new humanity. And I'll conclude by reading something which Sister Mani and Dawn were talking about. So here, I'll read the last part. And the glow of love should allow itself to be illumined by the full exercise of reason. And then here is Mani. As I say, by the God man walking the new life, I feel it is already lived. I think she is talking about new life. Next, Dawn says, and we, the rest of humanity, will gradually and inevitably experience that pattern that he set by leading the new life. And finally, Sister Mani goes, automatically, we see some signs of it already. Many changes from the old patterns and values which we had thought were set for all the time. Sorry, I don't think I read that right. So Mani says, we see some signs of it already. Many changes from the old patterns and values which we had thought were set for all the time. Obviously, we are not doing that anymore. We look at the young people now who struggle to be free of the old bonds of materialism, who are beginning to feel the thirst for God, seeking something beyond what they see. This surge of the young awakening we would never have dreamt of some years ago. So it's already there, it's happening, but it's like Jeff always says, hearing from Erich, it's a very, 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 very slow process. So there it is. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba, thank you, Prakash.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, Janet from Colorado here.
Yeah. So can you hear me okay? I have my headphones on.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Well, I was impressed, a couple of weeks ago watching the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, and that they sang John Lennon's song Imagine. And, it was like kind of the opening theme. And it reminded me so much of what Baba says in The New Humanity about not separating out by race or nationality or sex or all of these divisions that we have, but that the new humanity will be beyond that. And to have that sort of declared to the world of, 206 nations, to have that declared to the world of all these young people, I think I'm just reinforcing what VJ said and so many others, and just now Prakash, about how the young people are already moving in that direction. And I personally feel like Baba's hand is in so many things that aren't just the Baba world directly, but all the spiritual awakening that's happening with many. He said, "I'll bring all religions together like beads on one string," and it's just moving away from the rituals and everything, and but we're still having our different. Our when I say our differences, I don't mean like differences clashing. I mean our different ways of approaching God, our different ways of approaching the spiritual life, that we don't all have to be one thing or another. We don't all have to be like whoever was saying, I think it was Al, about how Baba unfolds himself to some and not to others, and others' lives are unfolded through other other avenues of spiritual practice. And that all of that is, to me, the way I look at it is that that's all Baba's touch. His touch is with so many things, that the awakening, I speak with so many people that I'm friends with that have that their consciousness seems to be expanding, and it isn't directly related to Mira Baba, but to me, it's indirectly related to Mira Baba. It's facilitated, has been facilitated by Baba, even if they don't particularly know about Mira Baba. And to me, this is for me, this is the essence of the new humanity, where we're not judging one another's path, but open to being, let's see the word I want here, where we're open to being, where we want other people to have the path that they relate to. It doesn't have to be our path. And of course, our path, my path with Mira Baba, means a great deal to me, and I speak about it to others, but it doesn't just resonate with others, but they are still really working on expanding their spiritual consciousness. Their intuition is growing. And, the way my life unfolds is that I see a lot of that. And I just appreciate Baba's touch on all of that. And this idea of the world being one, and that can even be spoken of directly in something as international as the Olympic Games. So.
Yeah, no, I think, one of the things you're saying is that we can be supportive of other people's path.
Yes.
And, even if it's quite different from us, and help people in their particular approach. And that way we stay in harmony with them, and rather than, come up against any conflict. The interesting thing is that most people, they take separateness as a fact. You know, it's just a mirage, but we think of it as, well, you're there and I'm here, you know. I mean, it's like, but there's no such thing as you're there and I'm here. We're just, like I say, we're just two hands on the same body, you might say. You can't say that, where does the one hand end and one arm end and the other one begin? I mean, it's just all one. But it's hard that the idea of separateness is very, I mean, of course, it gets dissolved by love, but there's a lot of things that we affirm that keeps the illusion of separateness going. I guess that's what I'm saying, is it's very, I know there's one of the spiritual figures in India, Krishnamurti, used to talk about separateness. I mean, like, it's like an established fact, you know, but it just is a mirage, you know, but it takes audacity to think that we could be each other. You know, we're all just fingers on the same hand. Anyway, Mahu was next, I think.
Yes. Well, everyone is contributing so nicely, just contributing to, you know, to open up and unwind this, because it's a very broad subject, humanity, and we could just talk about it in different ways and what contributes to it and what causes this to emerge eventually and so forth. But, you know, Jeff, you've been talking about this, what Eric said about, you know, we're all one, and we're together as part of one hand, you know. Isn't this that the is what metaphor you use? I mean, the imagery.
Yeah.
Say that again, what he said, because I want to bring up a poem by the very mystic poet in Iran. But go ahead, what did he say again?
Well, I mean, Eric said that, well, Baba also said that everyone is inside of us.
Yeah.
And Eric used to say, this whole world is yours, but you have to claim it. Through love, you bring what's outside of you into yourself. In other words, if you love birds and you get to know them, and the songs and the different types of birds, their names, their habits, after a while, they're actually flying around inside of you. You know, that you've incorporated them in your being, and that's kind of that approach. Expansion of being, rather than going the spiritual path, rather than going from point A to point B, it's more expansion of being.
Yes.
Yeah. Expanding,
so,
because we're inside of each other, even though it doesn't seem like that.
No, it does seem like that if we want to think differently and put our selfishness aside. But you know, you repeated this twice, and I want to talk about new humanity the way Baba talked about it in discourses. But there is a very beautiful poem by Sadi Shirazi, which is a mystic poet along with Hafiz, coming from Shiraz, city of Shiraz in south of Iran. And this is actually written and engraved in front of the United Nations. They put it there, in actual Farsi, as well as in, you know, the translation of it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's very, very beautiful. I mean, it's breathtaking if, you know, when you read it. So let me try to read it, and then maybe I can translate it a bit. But anyway, so the way it says, بنی آدم اعضای یکدیگرند که در آفرینش ز یک گوهرند. چو عضوی به درد آورد روزگار دگر عضوها را نماند قرار تو که از محنت دیگران بیغمی نشاید که نامد نهند آدمی. You know, and then it goes on. No, that's it. That's it. It's a the way that Sadi did his poetry is mostly 2 to 3 couplets, and that's it. Unlike Hafiz, but anyway, so the translation of this is this. I try to say so, is that human beings are members of a whole in creation of one essence and soul. In one member, if one member is afflicted with pain, other members uneasy will remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human you cannot retain. This is what Sadi said over in 7th century, and now is in front of United Nations in New York. So this is in a way in Sufism and mystic poetry, it talks about oneness and how we are part of the same truth. We are created as one. Baba talk about it, and God speaks at we are part of the oversoul Paramatma, although we're the drop soul. Here Sadi talks about it this way in his poetry, and in other area again Baba is talking about the oneness. We're all one. I say this with my spiritual authority. You and me are not we, but one. So that's the truth. That's the truth of who we are in eternal reality. But do we really live it? Perhaps not, because of the way that we live in a Mayavic world, and Baba had to come, descend on earth to do his universal work, to be able to help create this new humanity that eventually emerges. And in discourses, Baba talks about the material in new humanity actually emerges from material and spiritual adjustment. What does it mean? That means it's a process, and he's working on it. And we all are part of it, knowingly or unknowingly. But in a way, for me, new humanity, it starts from us. It starts from every individual consciousness. And now that we have the master, now that the God-man has brought us into his life and he's living in us, in our heart, then each one of us are responsible to help creating this new humanity for him and then for our sake. I would like to say for him, because we have no idea how bound he is with this creation that he created. All he wanted to know is beyond the state, wanted to know, who am I? Who am I? And then he had to come down and go through all this upheaval. But in any way, so in discourses, Baba talks about, he says, material adjustment is only a part of the wider problem of establishing a spiritual adjustment. But spiritual adjustment requires the elimination of the self, not only from the material aspects of life, but also from those spheres which affect the intellectual, emotional, and cultural life of man. Then, he talks about it more and more. But anyway, in discourses, the way that he talks about it, he talks about some of the adjustments, some of the problems, some of the sufferings that are there. And then eventually he takes it to this divine love. And then he says, the only solution is to release this divine love into the new humanity, so they don't think selfishly of themselves. They stay away from the ego, and then they become one. And I have a feeling that he's working on it. He's working on it, and perhaps he's working on it much more in an intense way during his manifestation, which is 100 years after he dropped his body. And he's working on it to bring it to life. And whatever that is happening right now, starting COVID, all the stuff that's happening, I don't want to go through it. It's part of this helping out for this new humanity to eventually build itself and get all manifested, so everyone would benefit from it. So what can we do? I mean, for me, new humanity is not an abstract subject. What can we do? We've got to come to the complete state of surrender. Accept as what is, but know well, what does Master wants us to do? Surrender completely to his will and remember him and love our fellow being, help others, and follow his guidance. That's the new humanity. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Thank you, Jeff.
I thought of this image of the way the old humanity does. Say you're in a boat with some people, and and you look over at their side of the boat and say, "Ha ha, the leak is in your side of the boat."
Yeah.
Like we're both going down. I mean, we're that connected. Yeah, so we got Michael coming up. We haven't heard from Diane, but she's I know it's anyway, let's go. We'll go here with Michael. Go ahead.
Well, I asked Val 2011, what is the new humanity? Now, whenever I was in a public gathering, I would ask the speaker that question. And a lot of the answers are what we've heard tonight. But Bao was extraordinary. His answer was one word, or I guess maybe three, depending on how you count them. He said the new humanity is a self-aware humanity. Now, self-aware means oneself, but self also with a capital S, meaning aware of the higher self. And that was the path that I've been on since 1968, before Baba. And out of that, traveling that path, I discovered words of power. I discovered how to get my mind to obey me, where it wouldn't just knock me around all the time and with wild emotions. And of course, I had to go through hell to do that, but it wasn't easy. So what I discovered, and I was bringing it up before, was the realm of the mind, realm of the soul, and a journey that others have written about. Dante wrote about the Divine Comedy, going through Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso, and Virgil discussed it in the Aeneid. And then I think it was Bunyan who talked about the Pilgrim's Progress. And they all start in the underworld, which would be the lowest of emotions, like greed, the jealousy, lust, controlling bodies. And to get people to admit to that, because all of us contain all these states. And I'm positing that every human being and mammals and most sentient beings have the same order of emotions. It's as if you were a painter, and I remember seeing one of my father's studies as a painter, where at the very bottom it was pure black, and at the very top it was pure white, and every gradation in between. So some people, including myself, have spent time looking into ourselves and asking ourselves, where is this emotion? Where does it fit in this pantheon of emotions? And the journey would be from that lower self. It's all in the realm. It's called that realm of the mind. It's called disloyalty. It could be called anything, actually. You could call it peanuts. It doesn't really matter. And it goes from the lowest to, say, apathy, depression, fear, terror, conspiracy, and it becomes vocal. It is definitely not a vocal. What it is inverted anger, where you've been suppressed and you don't want to tell the truth of your experience, what you really think, because you're going to be oppressed even more. So it's like you're a kid, you break a window with your baseball. Your parents say, did you do that? You look at them in all innocence and say, no, I didn't do it. He did it. Maybe you blame somebody else. I'm laughing because I used to do that. And in the workshops that I put together, I would call them racket. We all have a racket that we run on each other. And these are things that we developed from childhood when there was not much, shall we say, reason behind it. It was just a knee-jerk reaction to a situation that seems to be common. The other thing that's important to this traveling this journey was to find a topic that required, that demanded internally transformation. Like I needed to transform my relationship with my father, because I was either going to be the victim forever, a little boy, and I'd have to act like one. There was no growing up. I was being wrapped in this shroud of the racket that I had created. And I needed to burst forth from that racket like a caterpillar, becoming a butterfly, transformation. And so I picked as a subject my father. And so the part of the characteristic of disloyalty is to be, not to trust yourself, not to trust anyone, to decide to trust yourself, and then tell the truth of your experience. So in relation to my father, the question would be, what is my experience of total failure? And I said, boy, I've always felt like a total failure when it comes to my father, to my life, because I was never going to become good enough, etc. We all have our stories, but I try to cut it down to one sentence because there's a lot of terrain. But when you get to the higher level of disloyalty, it becomes conspiracy and covert hostility. Then you go into the realm of adversary, which is insult to domination to insult or outright attack. And what characterizes adversary is opposition. And Shakespeare dealt with that in Taming of the Shrew. When he asked Kate, the sun is shining, isn't it? She says, no, it's the moon. She had to give him the opposite. She couldn't stand agreeing with him or letting him agree because it would be winning. And of course, we have nations battling each other and killing each other because of it's in the realm of the mind, it's a natural progression. But to stop it, for some reason, Baba picked me for this job, and I figured somebody had come up with positions. Instead of telling the truth of your experience, you go into what is your position? What is my position regarding my father, for instance? Well, fathers shouldn't beat their children. So what is my payoff? Well, I can make him wrong for the rest of my life because there is no denying that he did that. But what does it cost me? And this is what brings me to tears. It costs me my relationship to my father. So I would ask people to come up with 80 positions. And until they got to the point where they were sobbing uncontrollably. And then one of the characteristics of love is that it is spontaneous. It is not controlled. Everything else, most of what we heard tonight is controlled. But when you get in touch with this graveyard that you've created, you have self-created this graveyard, then the sobbing is just spontaneous, and people sob for 5, 10, 15, even 20 minutes. Everybody has their own separate roll of toilet paper just to clean up the tears. And you just let people weep. Bao said that one of these days I would get all of humanity to weep, because we need to account for what we've done to each other and the pain we have caused, even with good intentions. So then when the tears are gone, we end up in this uncertainty. And we're standing before the realm of love, the realm of the soul, which is the home of love. And the mind is saying, don't do it, hold back. It might be another trap. And the soul saying, I want to be one. That little kid in you just wants to love. And so I asked people to do 100 considerations against choosing, and then 5 or so many, whatever considerations it takes to choose. And usually it doesn't take more than 4 or 5. For instance, you could say, he's got a big nose as a consideration against. And the consideration for would be, I like big noses. And you end up choosing, and you can always tell choosing because there's a big shit-eating grin on your face. And you can't hide it, you can't not smile, it's there. And that's the emergence of the soul. And the first thing that hits the soul is clean up the mess you made, which I discussed earlier. And when people make the heartfelt apologies, what they've done is seal their transformation. It's become real, and it's like, it lasts. There's no going back anymore. The memories are all painful and associated with all these wild emotions. Might as well be a placid pool of water. It's just another memory. Then the next stage is to make a goal to get to source. That's what I call the higher state. Because when we were doing these workshops, they were for people who weren't Baba lovers. And you don't have to be a Baba lover to do this. All you have to do is be an honest human being. And that would include the 12.5 billion people who are part of the new humanity. No matter what the religions are, or their way of belief, or whatever, it doesn't matter. We all have these emotions in common. We all have these states of consciousness that we go through. Because when you're an adversary, you see everything through the eyes of adversary. It's like discussing water with a fish. Are you angry? No, I'm not angry. You're fighting with me? No, I'm not fighting. Even though their answers belie the state. But now we go into this other realm, which is called either null point, where you start a new afresh in the world of the soul, and people don't know how to talk. Everything else up to then has been programmed, scripted. And here you are floating around, happy as a clam, and there's no script, you don't know what to say. So it takes a little while for the group to get focused on getting to source. After all, that's why we got together in the first place. So then the first thing that we go through is to make a goal. Second thing is called danger, where you're in danger of slipping down below the line, because those are the sanskaras and the memories that are still fresh. Then emergency, where you're promoting, and there's excitement for instance, in danger, there's wonder and curiosity. You know, did you ever think that maybe curiosity was a good thing? Where somebody says, for instance, the world is so, they make a judgment about somebody based upon what somebody said to them. And the question you have is, well, weren't you curious about my point of view? That indicates being above the line, because curiosity brings you up to the next stage, which is emergency, where you're promoting, I have succeeded in controlling my mind to keep me from dragging me down. And as you expand, you go into this realm called normal, which is cheerfulness, natural cheerfulness. You don't have to fake it anymore. With, you know, that expression, fake it till you make it, right? Well, cheerfulness can come under that guise. But here it's natural. And enthusiasm. And enthusiasm from the original Greek means full of love, or full of God, rather.
God, yeah.
And higher still is abundance or love, which is the state of being that Romeo and Juliet were in.
So Michael,
Let me hold on a second.
Yeah.
It's where it's called ardor, where you feel ardor and cherishing, where you feel gratitude. These are the high states of love. And beyond that is serenity of beingness and joy and games, and where you can be totally trusted. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. And you can be counted on and trusted to do that. And still higher yet is the I am state, where to me, when I stand before God, and there's this glow, this fantastic light. And if anybody asks me who I am, I tell them I am love, because that's what I experience. So that to me puts you at the doorway of the spiritual path. I don't claim to put anybody on the spiritual path. But what I do want to do is gather enough fellow warriors, warrior poets, to go through this, to master this master communication, because this exercise is all about communication. And communicating from heart to heart, and having the will and the backbone to put up with 75% of the population will probably be against you and may even martyr you. And for doing this all for the sake of love, not for awards or, you know, being patted on the back, because most of the time you probably won't get it. Most of the people who did the workshops are upset with me because they slid backwards. Rick Chapman asked me about recidivism, and I didn't have a solution for it, but I noticed that after a week, a month, people would slide down to a lower level. Not as low as they were when they began, but it's still a lower level because it's the comfort level. They were used to it. And millions of lifetimes reinforced it, and society reinforces it. So I came up with a solution that I haven't done yet, but I'm proposing that everybody that does this initiation They have to study and learn how to deliver these groups themselves, small groups, 5, 6, 10 people. And that's how it would grow and eventually transform all of mankind. To me, it was a tool that Baba had in mind because it's a group activity. It's all these groups acting independently because nobody is really going to be in charge. I don't want to be in charge of it. I just want to take people through the initiation. And of course, throw my 2 cents in, but I'm not going to be chairman. Better qualified people to do that.
Okay, now
But
let's.
the idea of having these companions, brothers and sisters, oh, it's so exciting to me. So, but I can't embark upon enrolling people and trying to sign people up for workshops. I did that and it just caused a lot of suffering. No, I have to wait for people to knock on my door and say, I want to do this. Take me there. And of course, being an apprentice master in servitude, I'm obligated to take them. Because there is, when you stand before God, all there is service. There's no question of well, I don't think I'll do it. I don't feel like it today. You hear the clap, you get up, you do what the master asks you to do. And that's true happiness. So, yes, Jeff, I'm done.
Okay. No, good. I mean, that you took us through a whole journey, and I mean, there are just a few other people here. And you know, yeah, Marion.
Okay. Hi. I just will add a little addendum to my earlier share. And that is what I wanted to add, because I'm in the new humanity. I'm, playing it out. And that is there's no karma. Everybody who comes in has no karmic payback with anybody else. And there's no disease, because disease starts in the energy body. I'm an energy healer. Things like cancer, all those things, those are the end results. They are not diseases. The disease starts in the energy field, and we practitioners already know that. So in the new humanity, there's no disease, no big hospitals, nobody going through any of that. So there's other institutions for rituals for coming in and leaving. And so we do have some institutions, and everyone decides how long they're going to be here and when we're going to die. So some people may choose to come for 50 years, and somebody else say, I think I'd like to stay around for 200. And somebody else might say, well, I think this time around I'll do maybe 30. And so there'll be the rituals, and everybody will be very joyful when they're coming and going. So I'll end with that one. That's my last part of my presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Michael's already 80. I mean, can you give him another 80? Okay, Jessima.
Yeah, Jeff, what in my view, like the scientific advancement is so much happening now. Like people are being more happier, more secure, and less things to worry. And also world is working for equality, eradicating poverty. So what I was thinking is going forward, we have less and less things to worry, and on the trivial things, and we would be spending a lot of time either loving each other or loving God. I mean, we would not have any things of jealousy against each other because everyone would be happy. So I think like for example, here in Zoom, we get to spend a lot of time discussing about God. Earlier, like we had to travel to some Baba place and discuss about Baba or God. But now it's so easy and so much time we have to spend with God. I mean, going forward, this will be more and more, and machines would do a lot of work, and humans will have only to think about God.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, this is kind of beautiful here that you create a kind of safe and loving and very natural environment. I mean, we kind of have a certain version of the new humanity happening right here when people can speak and just be themselves and not worry about being condemned or shot down or disapproved of. I mean, where can you find that in this world? I think that, hopefully things like, people will be able to get together and actually enjoy each other and be empathetic and, but anyway, we haven't heard from Rainey though. She's been kind of, slinking around and, popping up amongst flowers and things.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you hear me tonight? Can everyone hear me tonight?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone read page 4 of the New Humanity. The new humanity has to emerge out of the travail of present struggle and suffering, and will, of course, not ignore science. What brought it to mind was Jay Seema's comment, and will not ignore science as anti-spiritual. Science is a help or a hindrance to spirituality according to the use to which it is put. Just as art, when rightfully expressed, is the expression of spirituality, science, if properly handled, can also be the expression and fulfillment of the spirit. Scientific truths concerning the physical body and its life in the gross world can become a medium for the soul to know itself. But if they have to serve this purpose, they must be properly fitted into the larger spiritual understanding, which includes a steady perception of true and lasting values. In the absence of such spiritual understanding, scientific truths and attainments are liable to be used for mutual destruction and for a life which will tend to strengthen the chains which bind the spirit. All-sided progress of humanity can be assured only if science and religion proceed hand in hand. This little section, it took me all day to find it. It was one of my favorite things from this book when I was very young. And because I had a scientific job valuing gems. And then my mind straight away went to a little thing I'd like to read. And it's sort of a theory of Francis's, of some remainders of the old humanity coming together on a beach waiting for Baba. And he doesn't show for 24 hours. So in 24 hours, they go through every theory, every book, every song, every avatar, every idea. And when they get to the end of it, it's the next morning again. And the song of the dawn takes place again. Being is dying by loving. This is the song which I, the dawn, am bringing. Awake, arise for love's dear sake. Awake and sing. The beloved told us to meet him here. But how could we have reached here if he had not walked by our sides, supporting us when we would have fallen, urging us on when we might have given up and returned home? Krishna danced with 16,000 gopis. Baba walks with each one in the world to that one's next stopping place. He came with each of us, and he was sitting here all along to receive us. But we did not see him when we arrived. It is not we who have been waiting for him, but he who has been waiting for us to drive the strangers out of our hearts who has infested them, preventing him from making his home in our hearts.
Beautiful.
Jai Baba.
Yeah. You know, I have this image of Baba. It's like, you know, those children's doll houses that are kind of cut out, you know, so you can see all the rooms. Well, Baba's like everybody, all the people in the world are like this in this dollhouse. But what happens is, and he's watching it all, but everybody in the doll, all the dolls are not looking, they don't realize that one of the walls is, the back wall is completely missing. And Baba's there watching them all. And the dolls are just kind of caught up, you know, playing in each room until one day you kind of look over and say, wow, there's no back wall to this place. And that begins the actual, you know, journey with Baba. But Baba's just been there looking in on everybody all along. I mean, what you read there kind of reminds me of that metaphor. VJ, I don't know. He just came back after, you know, he probably went down to Starbucks and then came back.
Yeah, I just thinking the humorous side of it. You know, they talk about science and technology, but it's all for the human comfort only and all for the personal joy. Then where is the suffering? And then suffering, I feel, is a must for Manonash, for mind. Suffering is a, and then after going through suffering, then you realize that suffering is nothing. So suffering should be there to annihilate the mind. Joy and sufferings are necessary. Also, I read in the Vedas, like they used to transform, like now we are traveling through aeroplane. Earlier there's those devas, they used to travel, like they used to transform their body into the energy, then again going to the, like in the movies also USN. So that kind of scientific advancement and all. So I think the future is like it will go and go on new ways, and science and technology advancement and world is progress like that. But the basic thing is suffering and joy. So there will be new kind of suffering, new kind of joy. The mind has, well, there is so much to talk. This is infinite. But I would like to listen all the participants, how they feel. It will be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what you say, the suffering from empathizing with others is not
Yeah.
real suffering. I mean, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
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 Suffering because, you know, because you're not getting what you want. That destroys the mind. But the suffering that comes from empathizing with others, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really,
Separateness to oneness
yeah.
means, yeah.
Wow. So anybody else? I'm trying to think. I might try to get, there's a woman named Joni Harland, who met Baba. Her sister was 3B. I'm going to see if I can get her. Maybe I'm thinking about next Sunday. I'll let you know if she could come and share her times with Baba. I'm kind of thinking about that. I got to get the nerve to call her.
She just spoke at the Marymount.
Yeah.
The
And
same as I am out. Yeah.
people thought that it was so good that, and most of us didn't see it, you know.
It's going to be available. The whole recording is going to be available, but
Yeah.
I think probably she has great stories, and her husband has off the
Yeah.
chart.
And she said that she didn't tell all of her stories, you know, she just told some of them. So it would be nice. I'm going to wish me luck. I'm going to give her a call and see if she will come and share, unless you guys can break the news to her. Huh?
She'll come. She's just a local. She's one of our group. She loves to tell her stories.
Oh, it would be beautiful. And I'll give her a call. And and see if she'll do that, maybe. And yeah, and I don't know if you should she have Greg come, I mean, participate in it, or Greg has a pretty, we can maybe get him on another occasion or something.
He didn't meet Baba, so he can talk about the mandala and she can talk about
Yeah,
Baba.
I'll see. Anyway,
Do it, Jeff, you can do it.
yeah. So the new humanity, as I mean, I kind of feel it's something it's not in the future, but it's right now. If we can, I was going to read this. This is something from Baba that I've always liked. And I kind of think of it as rather than putting things in the future, this is what Baba says. The illusion which most aspirants find difficult to shake is the belief that infinite truth is an object which has to be attained in some distant future, and that all of life is just a means for this attainment. If truth were to be confined only to the future and not to the past or the present, it would not be infinite. It would at once become limited as an event which has its origin in time. All that life is and has is at once deprived of intrinsic significance if it comes to be regarded as merely instrumental to some far-off event. This is definitely a false point of view. Life is not meant to be rich in spiritual significance at some distant date, but it is so at every moment, if the mind is disburdened of illusions. Only through a clear and tranquil mind is the true nature of spiritual infinity grasped as something which is not yet to be, but which already has been, is, and ever will be an eternal self-fulfillment. When every moment is rich with eternal significance, there is neither the lingering clinging to the dead past nor a longing expectation for the future, but an integral living in the eternal now. So, I mean, and I think that Eckhart Tolle, who lived next to Baba people, I think this confirmed kind of what his work was, because he's the power of now. He read that, and I'm sure that that resonated with him and with what he shares with people. But it is now, it's what they say. If you want to find where eternity is, this is a Zen saying, if you want to know where eternity is, it is in this present moment. If you don't find it in this present moment, you won't find it even in 1,000 years. So,
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Baba has said, I just add one thing. In a book called Baba's Messages on Eternity, New Humanity at page 10, Baba quoted that. The new humanity will come into existence through the release of the love and in measurelessness abundance. And this release of love itself can come through the spiritual awakening brought about by the Master. Love cannot be born on mere determination, though through the exercise of will, one can be the best dutiful. That is at page 10 and 11 of the book. And in fact, I've sent so many about the collection of the Baba's words on the new humanity to your Gmail. You can go through. Found about beautiful articles on that.
Yeah. It's not a matter of willpower, and it's beyond good and bad and right and wrong, and it's the love that we're looking for is spontaneous. It doesn't have an agenda. Rumi says you never know what love is going to do next. He says it's just as the polo goal has no idea where it's going to be hit next. So anyway, let's have a few moments of silence. And Jai Baba.
Har Meher Baba ki jai.
Hey.
Jai.
Meher Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
Avatar.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Ki jai.
Ki jai.
Was there
Jai
anybody
Baba.
below that didn't have a who had wanted to say something? It's yeah, the new humanity is. Did anybody find any references of the new humanity other than that one discourse? The term new humanity?
Yes, there's dozens. There's dozens of. I downloaded about 5 onto my phone.
Oh, okay.
From the New Humanity and from discourses.
Other places. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm going to
And
work.
Mayor Baba's message to the New Humanity as well.
I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to call Joni and see. And so that would be on, hopefully on Sunday.
Okay.
Lovely, yeah. They're just nice people, you know, they just live here. There's no need to be scared, Jeff. We go there for dinner and we order out curry, and it's just Joni. She's lovely, but
Okay.
she doesn't like a fuss. So just our friend in Baba.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
I mean, I know her too. I mean,
Yes, of course you
I
do.
just, it's,
by the way, the thing I read and sang the Dawn song from was from the 25 scene play, Being is Dying by Loving. And that was the culmination of the 24 hours of waiting. Well, lives of waiting, but the last most waiting moment before we step into the new humanity, supposedly.
yeah. I mean, I like the
When we step in there, Jeff, we sing Baba's Making It New, by the way.
Yeah, I like the idea of like you have 24 hours to kind of get through everything
Yeah.
and get yourself ready to meet Baba on the shore.
Oh, the play went for 3.5 hours. Most people were asleep. Forget 24 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, you guys have a nice week. And yeah, with Baba.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Thank
see
you,
you.
Jeff.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
It was
Thank
a
you.
wonderful.
Good night all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jai Baba,
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Yeah,
Dinesh.
you were shy about the
Yeah.
subject, Jeff, but you did well, and everyone did well. It was great.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I thought we did well.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought much about the new life until I brought it to the present moment. The future,
Yeah, that's the one.
I'm not
Let's
that
make that
interested in-
bigger and bigger and bigger, that present moment.
Because it's in the now.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said it's in the now. That's why.
I've got no future.
Right.
Well, it's definitely a big deal.
Yeah,
He
Barbara
said it.
said in Australia, well, there's no yesterday and there's no tomorrow. And like,
Yeah.
I'm here,
Yeah.
like, looked at it, everyone like, well, where are all of you? You're all in yesterday.